Meanwhile, Indiana Governor Mike Braun joining a growing list now of state executives backing a plan to protect utility customers from the cost of new data centers. Braun is one of 23 governors who signed on to President Trump's expanded, quote, ratepayer protection pledge. The White House saying the pledge requires data center builders to pay the full cost of new power plants and grid upgrades they need. Instead of shifting those costs onto families and small businesses, data centers would then have separate rates and still pay, even if they don't use all the electricity.